I'd arrived in this particular appointment a year and a bit ago with the plan to set up new Christian communities in a very pioneering project. Then the COVID lockdowns hit, and I found myself thinking, well, I can't go and do what I wanted to do. I was expecting to go and meet people for coffee, shake hands with people, get to know people on a one-to-one basis. And I thought, we need to do something different. We need to very quickly change this. And so the first thing I did was set up a routine of a daily event of what people would do to sort of start to develop their own spirituality. And I put that onto the Facebook page, and it got a lot of people's interest, and people shared it in different places. And over time, that developed into not just a rhythm for a day of how you would start the day with prayer and how you end it with prayer, but how you would have Monday as a day dedicated particularly to prayer for the week. And then Tuesday, we would do Lectio Divina. On Wednesday, we have a coffee morning, and things kind of developed from there. So there's never really a plan for online church or online or digital engagement in that way. It just happened because it needed to happen.
Well, at the time, I was a regional coordinator for Messy Church in my area in Warsaw. And in one of the Messy meetups, it came out from a discussion that there were a lot of Messy Church groups that had not managed to communicate at all with their families, or the leadership hadn't managed to make the jump to online communication. And there were just so many families that just had got lost or hadn't continued their journeys. So that was when a little spark, and I thought, that's it, that's the opportunity I'm looking for. That's where the need is, that I've got experience and what I've felt I was equipped to do. So this is where I'm going to plant this.
What happened about 18 months ago in August, actually in 19, I was at the retail park with our superintendent, looking at the potential of using a shop front for an office and a possible place of worship. But on that day, we looked at a premise, and when we inquired of the estate agent, it was just costly and we couldn't afford it. So we're both in the car park at the retail park, and in my eye line, I could see Costa Coffee. So I suggested that we'll just have a coffee and debrief and think. So we went to Costa Coffee and enjoying our latte. And I said to our superintendent, we could have worship here. When we started, we had a vision that we would meet every alternate Sunday at 4:30, and the Costa Coffee shop closed at 5 to the public. So we had customers there in the place when we started. So we gathered at 4:30 with a keyboard player, and we just mingled. Some customers stayed, and at 5 o'clock we had sole use of the premises, although the Costa staff were with us serving, and people arrived. So we had a mixture of people who were already customers and people that we'd invited to come along. And the first session we had, Emma, was we had 22 people, which we were very pleased about as a first gathering. But by the time lockdown came, we'd had 8 sessions because it was every 2 weeks. So March 2020, we had 57 people, and 40% of those people were people that we didn't know. They were customers, or they were people who'd heard about it, word of mouth. It was just inspiring what God is doing here. And then along came lockdown, which was incredible, because suddenly we built this head of steam, and then suddenly everything stopped.
The videos that I do, they go out every Sunday. It's a sermon in 100 seconds-ish, and something called pocket prayers, which are about 3 to 4 minutes long, maybe, and a picture verse. So essentially, the Sunday thing, it's a whole Sunday service that you can carry around on your smartphone or anything like that, and engage with it when you have the time and space, because people are so busy these days. To have something where they can just sit for under 2 minutes and get a sermon, or they can, if they've got a few minutes longer, they can sit and engage with the prayers with the music in the background.
The Messy Church community is international, and as one of the leaders, we've got a Facebook group where we put on there everything that we're involved in all the different countries. I contacted Lucy Moore and said that I'd done this course, and I really felt that there was the need from the Messy Meetups for this opportunity to offer families to join a Messy Church online. And then that's where the partnership began with BRF. And then we was thinking about, then we contacted Fresh Expressions, and we put a plea out for people who were interested and to help. I'd done some initial thinking about it. And then from that, so God sent this really good techie person, and she came up with this really good structure of the social media networks and which ones, how to link them together. And then also from the session from the course that Nona Jones did, Nona Jones said the front porch was the public space, and that was like your church notice board. So with that in mind, we've set up accounts for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and YouTube as the notice boards. And then we've got like a private space, which is the first, is hoping to become the first community of families. And I've also set up a group, which is a support network, which is built within the Messy Church network of leaders, and that's called Messy Church Goes Cyber Leaders Community.
So ever since then, which was March the 15th, I think, 2020, we've been online. We have a Facebook group, we do Zoom prayer sessions and Facebook Live prayer sessions, alternate Sundays, online worship, YouTube or Zoom or both, and a very active Facebook group. And if I just say, Emma, when we went into lockdown, there were 72 members of our Facebook group, which was great after just 3 months. But as I speak to you today, we have 398.
Wow.
Which is more than a 5-fold increase online. We have now 2 Zoom sessions Monday and Friday, and 2 Facebook Live sessions Tuesday and Thursday. So 4 days a week, we have active prayer and fellowship online. And we're now getting in our Zoom sessions 30 people every time on Zoom, and more than that on Facebook Live, because we don't know the numbers there always. But what I'm saying is it's working online, and the membership is just going up. Although it is about numbers, it's not about numbers. It's about the depth and the breadth of the love that is among that fellowship. So numbers, yes, are important, wonderful numbers, but actually it's about the quality of the interaction and the love that's shared. It is love, there's no question about that.
Do you use Facebook groups or just focus on the page?
We have a group, and the group exists purely to try and get some engagement between the people who make use of the page. But that doesn't really see a great deal of traffic at the moment. Hope is over time that will develop. So
do you know which platform is most used?
It's Facebook.
Facebook.
By a long jog, yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of numbers, not that it's just about numbers, but what kind of numbers are you getting?
That's the really random thing about Facebook. You can post one thing on Facebook and that it gets a ton of engagement and gets shared around, thousands of people looking at it. And you go, all right, well, that's got amazing. And then you post a video that you think, this is really good, this is really useful stuff. And apparently nobody's really looked at it. And it's very strange. So we, on average, a couple of hundred people may engage with a particular post. what level of engagement that is, we just don't know. I do occasionally beat myself up about it and think, well, is it really worth doing this? And then I think about the times when I take services in churches and there's 40 people there, and after the service, everybody shakes your hand or says goodbye, and maybe one person says, oh, I really loved your hymns. So actually, you don't necessarily get that much engagement in real church either.
Do you have a sense, like, do Facebook statistics help you to know how many are downloading it or when they're looking at it?
You get some indication. Facebook, one of the reasons why I kept it short was because most of the Facebook data that you get is for like 10-second, 3-second views, 10-second views, and over a minute, which isn't really that helpful for knowing how many people have watched the whole thing.
No.
So by keeping it relatively short, if it's over a minute, chances are they've watched the whole thing. So
yeah,
work with that. I have the videos also go up on Instagram TV, right, and on YouTube on Sunday.
So tell me, John, so Facebook gets the most engagement that you found. So why do you choose to use Instagram and YouTube as well? What's your thinking there?
The Instagram thing, mainly because I do know that there's a very different demographic use Instagram to using Facebook. Yeah. So you may catch a slightly younger crowd, at different professions, etc. And the YouTube thing, in some ways, I just started putting them on YouTube as an afterthought. They are just there. It's often easier to share it from YouTube to other places like Twitter and to people who just want to be able to view the video without having to appear in any kind of Facebook statistics.
That's so interesting. So you've made a deliberate decision to use Instagram as well, because you might get fewer people, but you might be reaching people that are younger that you wouldn't reach through Facebook, or not so easily through Facebook maybe. So Vickie, what fruit do you hope to see? What are kind of your long-term dreams for this Messy Church Cyber?
Well, I think looking at the bigger picture, the bigger umbrella of the digital church plant, I see Messy Church Cyber as being one aspect of that. So in the future, we've also got links with also with BRF, with Messy Vintage and Anna Chaplaincy, and they're already in on the planning meetings, and they're really keen to get something started with that sort of aspect and looking at that age group. So hopefully there'll be another ministry. I don't know if that will necessarily be a Facebook group as such, but we're looking at recording content to take out to care homes or something like that, and also additional needs group, because a lot of those people don't find in building church very conducive to learning or for their family pathways. So overall we're looking to create, I suppose, bespoke where possible discipleship journeys for these families that works best with whatever their needs are, which is a bit more easy to do online.
John, you call it church without walls. Do you think that it is church at the moment, or do you think it's something that could be church in the future? What's your feeling?
I've been asking myself this question a lot recently, especially in the run-up to going on sabbatical, thinking about, well, how and in what way is this church, and how can it be church in the future? I don't know whether it is church at the moment, because I mean the word church is all about the sort of gathered people. That's where the word comes from. But in a digital sense, people don't really gather in that way. But we are collecting people together. They're all engaging with this in the same space. So I feel as if it could generate some form of community later on. I think that's what would make it church, is when it does sort of tip over from being people who are making use of it to people who are engaging with each other via the posts that go up there.
We're learning this, aren't we, online? You know, there's something charming and authentic about the way we're doing these things. We're learning as we go along. And it's not necessarily going to be slick as BBC production, is it? It's not going to be Songs of Praise standard. But don't you think there's something charming about and authentic about producing it with what we've got, the talent that we've got, and the equipment that we've got, the technology that we've got? We make the best of it.